The host of this program invited me on to talk to you about privacy and security in this day and age. So, while I can't tell you who I am, oh crap.
This is the Segovia Show.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Segovia Show. I am your host, Segovia. In this episode, this is not exactly a follow-up to the whole Freedom Phone thing. In fact, it's more of the conversations that were started because of what the Freedom Phone was promising. So I'm going to get into that in this episode with respects to de-Googled phones, Linux devices that are out there. One in particular that I want to bring attention to, and alternative operating systems, which in this case would also allow me to talk a little bit about BlackBerry, who rest in peace. So for those of you that are new to my program, this is my website, www.segovia.com. This is where I'd have additional content that doesn't make anywhere else because yeah, I'd like to control my own things here. So I have a bunch of other shows and podcasts which are available here, talking about movies, talking about soundtracks, books, obviously tech, and Off the Record tends to be the place where I talk about anything and everything that interests me. Off the record, off the QT, and very not so hush hush on this one. If you understand that reference, that means you're a fan of LA Confidential too. So without further ado, I want to get into this topic of what was brought up because of Freedom Phones. The whole idea of being able to break free from big tech, taking back control of your privacy and security online and things like that. I've gotten questions from people across the socials, even some of these video platforms, with respects to what devices alternatively do I recommend, if not the Freedom Phone? What other things can we do? Or should we get a VPN? It depends on how you're going to be behaving, because if you're still going to be using big tech, but now, I'm using a VPN, that doesn't circumvent the issue. You're still identifying yourself to the big tech oligarchies and giving them your information while you're browsing, which defeats the whole purpose in the first place of getting a VPN. But first, I want to talk about Android. Android, most people that don't know, is an open source project. What it means about open source, the best example I can think of is, for those of you that are into fitness, supplements. Because when I've gone out to buy my supplements, I rely mostly now on TB12. That's Tom Brady's 12 sports complex and all that. He's all about being healthy, and y'all know. I really liked comparing the supplements because I ended up settling for his most of all, because when you see the ingredients compared to proprietary blends, you don't know what's in it. They're just telling you, trust us, this is good for you. So now imagine that, but so this app is free, but we're eating your data and your usage and sending it to our advertisers, to the highest paying customers, so they can send you an advertisement that hopefully you'll end up buying. But we're monetizing you is what these companies are doing. So Android itself, if you can build your own operating system, because the framework essentially is already there. And this is the place where you can learn more about it. I'm not all that technical, so this is the place where you really want to get technical. It's the place to be. Google is the one that bought Android, the source program, and then they built off that. Samsung, same thing. They use this and they built off that. That's where they get their One UI interface. Same thing with Sony. Same thing with HTC. OnePlus. This is where it is all sourced from. You can see the actual source. What they then do with their own proprietary services and things, that's those services. And those are the reasons why sometimes hardware needs to be bumped up in specs to keep up with whatever framework's being installed by, say, something like Samsung, who is notoriously known for being a RAM hog. Where they improved considerably towards the end of their TouchWiz days, but when they became One UI, it was considerably better, much more streamlined. That's not how they were before. They were RAM hog, bogged down the phone. They always crashed. You remember those days, folks, where your phone was like, I just got this phone. Why is it so slow? That is why, because the operating system was operating in the background, and all those applications were most likely just using up battery power, using up signal strength and data, sending your data, projecting it to wherever those servers were. Imagine being able to get to the bottom of it and say, no, I don't want you using these Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, radio waves during these times or whatever. I don't want you using them at all. And you being able to switch them all up. Basically, that's what this allows you to do. But again, it requires legwork, to which some companies have already done so. Some organizations, I guess you could say, these are projects too, developers that got together and done what is called Lineage OS. This is a de-Googled Android, essentially. There's no Google here. You can get it if you want to, but it will defeat the purpose why you got this in the first place. What makes this beautiful is that then, if you can see the list to the left here, look at all these phone manufacturers that have devices that can run this operating system. I'm going to use HTC as an example. I have this very phone, HTC One M8, released 7 years ago, and I have Android 10 running on that swimmingly, and I'm looking forward to possibly being able to install Android 11, which would be a Lineage OS version 18.1. I'm excited to get that. And imagine, these are older devices that can do that. That's how much more life you can bring into your phone. That's one of the, look, for all the crap that Apple gets, you gotta hand it to them, because they control the economies of scale from software to hardware. They also are able to continue supporting devices like such as the iPhone 6S. How old is that? And they're still pushing out updates to that. Yeah, that's inspiring. That's why it makes everybody else kind of like step up their game. Last year we started hearing all these new phones being released saying, oh, we'll provide you 3 years of software support. Okay, that sounds fantastic. Apple never promised anything, and yet they do all that. In the case of Google, heading into the release of the Pixel 6, now rumors are they're going to be promising software support for 5 years, because Apple stepped it up. Like, oh my goodness, I gotta do this too. So if they can't make money off the hardware, they're trying to make money off the software, folks. Keep that in mind. But that's a topic for another time. This is what I'm talking about. There's other projects like this too, like Calyx. Is it Calyx OS? With respects to this, most people thought that this was the one that the Freedom Phone was running, and I didn't bring this up because first off, I didn't hear about it. Secondly, it's not even none of these are that phone. So Freedom Phone is not a Pixel, and it's not a Xiaomi Mi A2. So if it's not any of these, it cannot be running on a Freedom Phone. That's my argument for that. I'll weigh more on that when I do my tech talk and discuss Freedom Phone directly. Another device that's another program that's out there, the Googled Android version, is called Graphene OS. This one's mostly tailored to also Pixel devices. Google Pixel is the spiritual successor of the Google Nexus lineup. Also Google Play phones that were made for technically developers and fans that were able to tinker with things, that really enjoy doing those things. If you can do it, and so I have. But you can also get third-party tech guys to do it for you. Then they charge a fee. You buy the phone, send it to them, pay the fee. They'll Google it for you and install operating system on top of it. Or there's some places that already sell the Google Android devices. If you do some legwork, you can find them, such as Rob Braxman or Freedom Phones. Not Freedom Phone. Freedom Phones also sells them, and most of them tend to be Google Pixels because of the hardware specs and all that stuff. But tracking can still occur at the hardware level, which is why some people say try Linux. This is a Linux device. This is called the Librem 5 by this company called Prism. They have two versions of this very phone for $900. This thing's been a long time coming, and now it's on back order. Back order shipping resumes October 2021. Place your order now, and you can get it towards the end of this year or no later than March 31st of next year. That's taking quite a while. And here's a post with respect to the supply chain from Purism. The CEO mentioning about the specs here. See, this is what I'm talking about. When Freedom Phone launched, where are the technical specifications? They're being transparent here, folks, and they're telling you what kind of modem. You can even choose the type of modem, the memory cards, everything here. That's what you want to know if you're truly being transparent. I go back to my examples about supplements, because supplements, there's proprietary blends, and then there's like as clean as can be. I go for as clean as can be. Some people don't mind the proprietary stuff because they're taking those companies at face value. And next thing you know, it's like, snap, now I have side effects, or I'm having these issues because God knows what's in those proprietary things that are not FDA certified. But anyway, without getting too sidetracked here, the cleaner the better. But look at the specs on this Prism phone. Read access memory, 3 gigabytes. 3 gigabytes in the day and age where we have like 12 gigabytes of RAM on these latest phones. That sounds ridiculous, right? No. But here's the thing. This device is $900. Here is the USA built device. For those of you that complain that something's not built in the USA, same phone, that much money. If you want that peace of mind, go for it. No one's stopping you. When a company that can sell a phone for $900 or $2,000 and the customer only wants to pay as minimal as possible because they can get 2.5 phones for the price of one built in the USA, don't judge them for it. But here's the beauty of it. These devices are outfitted with hardware kill switches, which is impressive. You could turn off the modem, you could turn off the Wi-Fi, Bluetooth manually, microphone, camera. You can do that because how many times have you heard, oh, I'm not using my camera, but now iOS kind of like forced a little dot there to show you when the microphone or the cameras or both are on and listening. These are hot mics. They're always on. If I do the OKG right now, I'm going to have something talk back to me. It's like, what am I responding to? So these things are always on, but how do we know they're on? How do we know they're actually listening? Oh, they're actually just keeping an ear out for keywords. Yeah, but they have to be on the whole time. What are they recording? What are they storing? This takes the guesswork out of it by switching it off and killing it altogether, which is why it's pretty cool. Now, hardware is just one thing, but what about existing hardware? Again, I go back to the Google Android operating systems like this, but there's also other things you can do with a device that you can flash a custom ROM to. Ubuntu Touch is another one. I don't know much about this one, but you can see the supported devices here for Ubuntu Touch. 63 devices that they support, mostly mid-tier and older devices, not really some of the new ones, which is kind of a bummer considering how devices that do not have voice over LTE are not being active or supported anymore on the carriers. So you're going to be hard pressed to find carriers unless like the prepaid mobile stuff that you'll be able to get these devices to work on. So just FYI, unless you have an active SIM card, keep it. Try to keep it as long as you can. Then there's this one. This one I knew about because the Selfish OS was launching with the Jolophone or whatever the heck it was, and it never really shipped. This is something that I believe can also run Android apps. Yeah, you can also run Android apps with a dedicated app support solution. I think it's kind of like a runtime environment similar to what BlackBerry was doing. So because I name dropped BlackBerry, I'll mention them now as I'm scrolling here through the Selfish OS. I think it's one of the most beautiful OSs ever made, at least the way it's styled. This, I believe, is built off Linux as well. I don't know much. It's been quite a while. But you can install it for yourself. That's the thing, that you can do it. It requires legwork, folks, and you can get it to work great because this interface is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. Hands down. And I love that it's different. So I'm hoping to get a device that can properly run this because I don't have one right now, and I do want to experience it. With respects to BlackBerry, BlackBerry is probably my favorite de-Googled Android device. It doesn't have Google in it, but you can if you want to because it has an Android runtime environment similar to Selfish OS. But this one's running Android version 4.3, which is why a lot of modern apps will not run on it. But if you're not trying to be tracked, you wouldn't want to anyway. With respects to this though, now that BlackBerry 10 is basically dead, what you can do with it is you can still install Android apps, particularly F-Droid. This is F-Droid, open source store for open source apps. Just like I said, the Android source code itself is open source. This is an open source app store, which is why I had questions about the so-called Patriot App Store. Like, what the flip is this? Who's handling it? Is it open source? Is developers sending things there? Or are these being collected kind of like a third-party pirate app store? So this is an actual distributor, a catalog of free and open source software for Android. Anybody can install this thing. And yes, you can get this on BlackBerry 10 OS. Now, this one in the middle here is an Android version, the only Android BlackBerry that was ever built, the Priv. I've had videos about this. And I'm not going to dive into the whole BlackBerry 10 and Android and all that runtime. If anything, I'll probably leave links in the video description down below. For those of you watching, you can see those. My number one hits 250,000 a piece almost, with respects to how you can get it, how you can get Android to run properly, or app stores to run properly on your BlackBerry 10 device, because as soon as the services from BlackBerry 10 turn off, that's going to be the only way you can still get mileage out of it. And they don't run that efficiently, unfortunately. They take forever to load, especially if you have the security settings to check the APK before you can get to the installation window. It's a chore, folks. It's a chore. But you can manage all that. There is another way. You can still give that to your BlackBerry and also still be as secure as possible, considerably speaking. But depending on the app you install, that app itself could be leaking off your data no matter what. Since I mentioned how expensive this, let's get to the Librium phone. Librium 5 is for the US build. Because, hey, look, I think that's pretty cool. To be able to have the option to get this is awesome. Okay, it's there. There's another one called Pine Phone. I don't know much about them, so I can't speak to them. But this is what I want to get at. $900 for mostly overseas sourced parts. $2,000 for the USA built. You know what's taking so long? With the next generation Android BlackBerry devices that are supposedly going to be licensed to this onward mobility, this is going to make a 5G flagship worldwide smartphone. How much do you think that phone is going to cost? They say they want to build it here in the USA. If you thought $700 was too expensive for a BlackBerry, how much more do you think this new one's going to cost? Are you going to pay for that too? So that's where I'll leave it, folks. This is stuff that's available. It exists. And I really, really love what BlackBerry 10 was. It's just unfortunately not able to do so much more. Just, man, what a bummer. Just looking at this is like looking at memories of, fond memories of a long time, past time. But yeah. Thank you so much for watching the latest episode of the program. Since you made it to the end, odds are you must have liked it. So by all means, please hit that like button down there and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And if you know someone that could benefit from the content that I show on my platform here, by all means share this channel with those that you know. So I'll see you, and hopefully them, in the next one.